What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the Super Rugby show, where it is once again time to have a look at another weekend's round of matches. It is round number 12. We have 8 games to go through today. Of course, a couple of teams having a bye. They are the Chiefs and they are the Force. Neither of those two sides will be featuring this weekend, but we still have 16 teams in action around New Zealand, Australia, Buenos Aires in Argentina, and South Africa, as well as Singapore, not to be forgotten about. We are all over the globe, and we are going to kick into gear and see what we have coming up this weekend. We start things off, as per always, in New Zealand, Friday night, Forsyth Bar Stadium in Dunedin. The Highlanders, home ground advantage when they come up against the Crusaders in what can only be described as one of the most anticipated, one of the most exhilarating matches in prospect. It's just blowing away the week of round 11, where the Highlanders disposed of those pathetic Chiefs that they were last weekend, and now they have their eyes on the prize of the Crusaders. This game is going to be huge. You know, it's 2 massive games for the Highlanders in a row, and it's going to be just the marquee, hopefully, for the weekend. It's essentially a top-of-the-table clash between 2 of the form sides of Super Rugby. For me, the only thing I can really separate between these 2 sides is that the Crusaders have been relatively untested recently. They've had the bye, they've had easy matches that they've really not had to struggle too much with, like the Reds last weekend. I mean, that was just a destructive demolition over the Queensland side. The Highlanders, on the other hand, we look at their recent fixtures. Last weekend, of course, they had the Chiefs. Weekend before that was the Brumbies. I mean, that's 2 really big matches. And then the Sharks the weekend before that, where they went down 14 men for pretty much 90% of that game. So, I mean, when you look at the comparison of what the 2 teams have played, there's a big difference right there. But when you're playing these hard, rough matches like that, you know, fitness becomes a big thing. Will the Highlanders be match ready? You know, they haven't had much rest. They've been really battered and bruised around. It's one of those things. It's an advantage, but also a disadvantage. The Crusaders could be undercooked for this one. That's really the only difference. I mean, these 2 sides have really been in great form. Highlanders, a bit iffy where they had those 2 matches down, but, I mean, they were tough games, especially the one against the Sharks as well. The Crusaders, what can you say? They are just going from strength to strength, and that's really what you got to pick on. It's your head versus your heart. For me, especially supporting the Highlanders down here at the bottom of the country, and that's where I'm going to stick my pick with as well. 29-23. The Highlanders get the job done over the Crusaders. Next up, we move over to Australia. We're at Amy Park in Melbourne for the Rebels, who are at home against the Brumbies. Now, this essentially, again, is the top of the Australian Conference clash. The Rebels have been brilliant, but they're starting to fall off the pace a little bit now. The Brumbies, they're improving, but it's rather ugly to really watch. The Rebels are coming off the bye in round 11, of course, so they should be a bit more recuperated with fitness and injuries as well. But I think the Rebels have really lost that surprise impact they were giving teams throughout the starter quarter or so of the season, where teams would almost underestimate the Rebels, expect a big win, and they almost surprised a lot of sides and pulled out big wins and really catapulted themselves up to the top of the Australian Conference. That now, I think, is gone. I think teams know what they're going to get from the Rebels, and they're a bit more prepared, and the results really have told quite convincingly as well. I mean, before the bye, they had the match against the Blues where they didn't look anywhere near what they had in the previous rounds before that. So that may be where the Rebels need to look, is to become a little bit less predictable. As for the Brumbies, they need to just keep on battling on as they have, and I think, again, they will come out on top of this one, 37-15 over the Rebels at Amy Park. Back to New Zealand we come, and the Hurricanes are back at home, and they're up against the Queensland Reds at Westpac Stadium. Now, this is a really interesting one, because if you've been had your head in the news a bit, you'll notice that there was quite a bit of a debacle, I think it was just yesterday, that actually made its way into the media about some Hurricanes players breaking a late night curfew, which has seen them make at least 5 changes. They've made a couple of others as well, but 5 changes down to this breaking of the curfew. And it's really big names as well, the likes of Julian Savea, Artie Savea, Corey Jane and Victor Vito. 4 of the 5 are All Blacks, essentially. Artie Savea not yet, but let's be fair, he's going to be in the future. I mean, they are big names, and 5 really big losses if you throw in Chris Eves there as well. The Hurricanes have dabbled their hand down into some club rugby to pick up some players as well, but it's going to be a massive loss to lose all those players, not to mention how woeful they were versus the Sharks as well last week. But you've got to look on the other side of the ledger here for a team like the Reds. This is a big opportunity, a massive opportunity. A team again like the Reds who have just got better and better as well. They've improved out of sight completely from where they were at the start of the season, and all those big names missing from the Hurricanes opens the door slightly for the Reds. But what the Reds need to keep in the back of their mind is how easily they were disposed of and how easily the Crusaders last weekend exposed their weaknesses, and that's something they really need to correct up over the week if they're going to have any chance at slipping inside that door of the Hurricanes. My pick is Hurricanes 32-24. Following that matchup, we go over to Allianz Stadium where the Waratahs are in action up against the Bulls. So South African sides making their way into Australia now for this Saturday night clash. So I think the Bulls here, their tour has not gone anywhere near as well as they would have expected, especially the match they had last weekend against the Brumbies. It was a very messy, scrappy game, as opposed to what they were like the week before, where they looked very, very attacking and fluid, and they looked very good to watch. But now it's a bit of a toss-up. What Bulls are we going to see? I think they need to keep that attacking mindset right at the forefront of the Bulls if they're going to have any more success on their tour around Australia. The Waratahs, on the other hand, much like the Brumbies have been recently as well, they're improving. It's ugly to watch, but results are coming, and they're building themselves nicely to improve back to the level we expect a team like the Waratahs to be in. The Bulls need to find a way to be effective against this Waratahs defence, because last weekend against the Brumbies they weren't at all. It's going to be a case of 2 attacks, a bit hesitant, almost nervous as to what they want to achieve going head to head. And I think I've only got this one, the difference being the crowd. The home team will get the win for my pick. Waratahs 19, Bulls 12. We make our way out of Australia and we fly over to Singapore, where our 5th match of the weekend will be taking place. It is the Sunwolves up against the Stormers, and it doesn't look good for the Sunwolves, does it really? Let's be completely, well and truly honest. It looks pretty bad for the Japanese franchise. They were done last weekend, absolutely done, hook, line and sinker, by an average-looking force that were in and out of the game as well. But to credit the Sunwolves, like we do every week, they fight on, and they do play a full 80-minute match, which is credit to them, because if it's close, if they have a sniff, they're going to be the team that'll get up for the win. The Stormers coming off the bye, and I think they are one team that will be anxious to impress their fans and make an impact on Super Rugby. They've kind of fallen away a bit, and people have almost forgotten who the Stormers are and, you know, how good they could possibly be as well, which is almost a shame because they're such a good side. They need to get back to those dizzy heights that they were at weeks and weeks ago. I can't see much success coming the way of the Sunwolves in this one, and it's going to be a pretty big Stormers win. I think the Sunwolves will continue to attack. They'll score tries, but it's their defence that's becoming a concern. 47-29 Stormers over the Sunwolves. Alright, sticking with our overseas theme, we make our way now to Free State Stadium in Bloemfontein, where the Cheetahs are finally back at home, and they've got possibly the one team most sides would like to see waiting for them again. It is the Kings. So the Cheetahs, like I said, back at home, back from a torrid road trip as well, and this is the best thing they can hope for, to see the Kings, and this is where their season needs to take a turn and go back to where they were a number of weeks ago. They have the ability, they have the talent, but they've really fallen off the horse quite considerably over the last couple of weeks. So this is a chance now. The Kings just need to hope and pray that they can put together a full 80-minute performance. We've seen 30-minute displays, 40, 50-minute displays from them, but ultimately their defence lets them down and they just fall away completely when they really need to step it up. They know how to attack, they can score tries, we've seen it week after week after week, yet they just cannot put a full defensive performance together. It's almost like they need to go train with the Sharks for a week to find out how to put a defensive line together. The Cheetahs, like I said before, forget about the last few weeks, Cheetahs. It's time to focus forward and demolish this Kings side and get your season back on track. And I think the Cheetahs will do exactly that. 36 points to 20. The Kings, they'll score a few points. They'll throw the ball around. They'll develop and they'll have some fun as well, but won't get the result. The Cheetahs will take this one easy. While we're in South Africa, we make our way to Johannesburg, where the Lions are back in action following the bye, and they're up against the Blues, who, well, they've had a decent last couple of weeks as well. They took away the Kings last weekend. Unconvincing, some may say. They took the full 80 minutes to really put them to bed, but the Lions, their opponents, I think there's still going to be a very, very sore point for the Lions after what happened 2 weekends ago, where they were absolutely demolished by the Hurricanes. So they've had the bye, so much would have gone down in those 2 weeks. So they should be coming back better, stronger, faster, and more determined than ever. The Lions had a great start to their season. They cannot throw that away now. They should be raring to go and full of that passion after what happened, and they've had so long to stew over it as well. On the other side, the Blues, they really had to struggle and battle away versus the Kings. I mean, they got the result, they got the bonus point, but it was almost a case of whether they could actually get the job done. The Kings, they had a chance, they had a sniff. The Blues, you have to remember, they are in a very tough situation here, bottom of the New Zealand Conference, but still, the amazing way this competition works, some call it amazing, some call it confusing as hell and a terrible idea, but the Blues are still not out of the equation. Overall, in the grand scheme of things, they're not really doing that badly, which is amazing. But it just shows how strong the New Zealand Conference is. But the Blues have to work, and I think they're going to really struggle to pull anything past the Lions. That's why I've got the Lions coming out on top of this one. 32 points to 16 over the Blues. Final match of the weekend, we're up to Buenos Aires for the Jaguares versus the Sharks. Now, this one will be very interesting to watch. The Jaguars, of course, coming off the bye as well. 4 teams making their way back into the competition for this weekend. And we've really learnt now, after 11 rounds, we've really learnt how the Sharks play. They've got some of the best attacking talent, but what they do is defend exceptionally well, and then they feed off mistakes. We've known this for a while now, but it's becoming more and more evident as it goes on, and they force teams into errors. I mean, they really did make a complete mess of the Hurricanes last weekend as well. They look really impressive, and it was down to the pressure they put on without the ball that the Sharks feed off. And I think against the Jaguars, they're a team that has plenty of mistakes to give out. I think they're going to be dishing out 10-course meals full of errors for the Sharks to gobble up. Now, the Jaguars, they need to have really done some homework over the bye week as well. But they just seem to miss something that gives them a killer blow, a killer edge. So many fantastic players. Some people are blaming the coaching staff, don't know really how to utilize the players in this sort of competition. Do they need better coaching staff familiar with the tournament? I mean, the Sunwolves, at least they have a coach that knows how Super Rugby works. Is that the problem with the Jaguars? The players, you cannot blame the players. Although performance-wise, they may not be right at the top of their game, but we know these players are good enough to perform internationally, where is the link missing to go down? Let's be fair, international rugby is up here and Super Rugby's down a step or two from that. So it's something they should be performing at, but just where is it going wrong for the Jaguars? I just cannot work it out for the life of me. Such a talented squad. Where do they go from here to improve and live up to their expectations? I think the Sharks are going to have plenty to feed on in this one. Mistakes galore from the Jaguars, and the Sharks, for me, too good, too much, right to the bitter end. 29-18, they will be coming out on top over the Jaguars. Alrighty, that was matchup number 8. Of course, as always, every weekend, let me know what you think in the comments below. What are your picks for this weekend's round 12 of Super Rugby? And always, we have our points tally coming out over the weekend. 1 point for getting the correct winner, an extra bonus point for getting within 10 points of the correct score. And if you nail it on the head, well, you're one lucky son of a gun, because you'll pick up 5 bonus points as well. So have a go, have a little dabble, throw your picks down there, and whoever gets the best score or beats me, whichever it is, you get a special mention on the review video, which will be coming your way next week. So, thank you for tuning and watching. Hope you've enjoyed. Thanks for sticking with me throughout the Super Rugby season. I hope to see you next time. Until then, thanks for watching and take care.